হ্যালো, লাবণ্য, রেজন ভাই শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? আপনি মিউট আছেন।
হ্যাঁ ভাই, শোনা যাচ্ছে।
আলমগীর ভাই শোনা যায়?
ওকে। Still I am hospitalized, so I want to talk more. Especially today webinar is on TOR. This is the 12th webinar. Currently, Dr. Rezaun is working as manager, MEL and research practical action, Bangladesh. Around more than 18 years experience in MEL professional. Already all of you know about him through recently my video content and advertisement and other communication channel. Before we start, I would like to share some housekeeping rule for everyone. Your microphone is muted and you will get open discussion feedback at the end of the session for 30 minutes. The webinar is being recorded. You will get similar recorded and PPT after the webinar. So keep question or suggestion at your mind. I'm requesting to Rizanul Bhai to start your session, please.
Thank you, Alamgir bhai. Thank you very much, and a special thanks, and also even at the critical moment, you are at this moment in the hospitalized. So being infected or the impacted with the COVID situation, you are just contributing for improving the meal situations, considering the overall meal guys, actually not only in Bangladesh, considering also the global. So for my side, actually I would just expect that you'll be recovered soon, and you'll be able to come in our environment with your complete health and mentality. So thank you very much, and thank you all, and welcome to all my meal guys, especially who have just put your interest to hear this or also see this presentation. So before going to present this, before going to start the presentation, I'm actually going to share some points. So already Alamgir bhai just briefly mentioned something about me. So just I can start my video so that the people can hear me. So I'm Mohammed Rezaul Haq. I'm working for at this moment practical action as monitoring, evaluation, learning, and research manager. Though it's a research manager, I'm mainly leading the whole research and also the MEL team in practical action. Before that, I also worked for different international and also the local NGOs also. So before practical action, I worked for Assembly Netherlands, Care Bangladesh, IRI Bangladesh, DASCO, and also Islamic Relief. And I had also opportunity to work on national or kind of the local NGO in Proash in Chapa and Aguas. So and in terms of educational background, I've completed PhD research on women empowerment, and before I did MPhil research and also MSc and BSc in population science and human resource development from the Rajshahi University. So let's start my presentation. Is it visible? Okay, thank you. So just 1 minute. Okay, so thanks again all. So before going to present, actually I like to share some points regarding the terms of reference. So we know that terms of reference, or the TOR, is the common part for conducting any studies, any assignments, and any special works for the organization or even any institution. So TOR is not applicable or is not essential for only the studies. TOR is common for all areas. So what I found and also experienced that there is no actually specific content or the guideline for TOR, but in different organizations there are just giving such uh, template and also guidelines and also some notes on developing TOR. And based on my experience, actually I have tried to develop a presentations that can be effective for your daily life and also the daily life, especially the professional life. So what actually areas I'll cover through this presentation? First one is the concept of terms of reference, I mean the TOR. And I'll also give you some concept of the ways, actually what ways we have to put actually for developing the TOR, necessity of the terms of reference of the TOR, basic steps. So what steps actually we'll cover or mainly consider for the TOR, and finally what challenges, because we know we face some challenges of some critical environment in developing the TOR. That area I'll also cover, and how to mitigate or how to improve the situation, or just how to develop the TOR just meeting those challenges. So let's actually, I like to share some points regarding the conceptual areas of the TOR. First one is the, everyone actually know about the TOR and why the TOR is developed, but what is the TOR? That actually I like to share. First one is the TOR refers to a document that outlines the parameters and objectives of a project, study, or initiative. So what I said earlier, that this is not just only for the, though I'm just considering the evaluation, mainly I'm just focusing the evaluation on evaluation areas, but TOR is not only applicable for the evaluation. This is also any activities, any assignment, any workshop, and any event that is common for all. This includes defining the roles and responsibilities, and also the timelines and deliverables of the projects or of any assignments. The second one is that TOR presents an overview of the requirements and expectation of the evaluation. Evaluation, I mean the baseline, midterm, inline, and even any studies. It provides an explicit statement of the objectives of the evaluation, roles and responsibilities of the evaluators, and the evaluation client, and resources available for the evaluation. Finally, TOR defines all aspects of how a consultant or a team will conduct an evaluation. It mainly defines the objectives and the scope of any process or any studies or evaluation. Also outlines the responsibilities of the consultant or the team, and also it also gives the concept on the clear description of the resources available to conduct the studies on an TOR. So this concept actually I also picked from different areas and also based on my practical experience. So I think these areas mainly considered for developing the TOR, or what we mean about the TOR. So these areas mainly the incorporated in the TOR concepts. So in summary, I would just say the what point and what areas mainly covers in terms of conceptualization, that conceptualize the TOR, mainly the expectation or outline, objectives, roles and responsibilities, methods, approach, team capacity, communication, timeline, and deliverables. There are lots of other areas also here, but the key areas are these. What TOR is required? So why actually we conduct that, or we develop the TOR, and why it is actually applicable? So there are lots of areas for applying the TOR, but I have considered some major areas like the need assessment, feasibility and design studies, baseline survey, impact evaluations, audit, events, environmental, social impact assessment. So just for the audit and events, I would just share, for example, in practical action, what we just follow, and even I am closely engaged with this process, because when we just plan for contracting with a consulting firm or the audit firm for conducting any annual audit or any project audit, then the TOR is applicable. That means TOR is common for all assignments. So when what we follow, there are some organizational context, some areas that I also share in the next slides. but TOR is common for all assignments. Sometimes just we ignore this situation, but TOR actually kind of mandatory, but sometimes some organizations, some stuff actually it just give the flexible load. But if the TOR is developed, then actually I think the all action or all activities will be just completed in a prescribed way and following the organizational standards. One minute, please. Okay, thank you. Common parameters, elements for developing a TR. What parameters actually we follow in developing the TR? Why and for when the evaluation assignment is being done. That means it's the initial stage, and in initial stage, what we consider, mainly consider the project or the program aspects. Mainly it's called the rationality of the study or of any evaluation, because in some TR we follow that the project objective is set, no, sorry, study objective is set, study different deliverable is set, scope of set, but the rationale why the study is being just conducted, why the organization will just conduct the study, so that's not actually mentioned in the TOR. So if it is not mentioned in TOR, the consulting firm, if we just consider for hiring the consultant, then actually they will be kind of confused actually what to consider and why the study is being conducted or going to be conducted. That's kind of giving the wrong message or the incomplete message. So why and for whom the evaluation assignment is being done, like it's the for the organization, for the partners, for the overall projects. So it should be clearly mentioned in the TORs. These parameters are especially important for what it intends to accomplish. This is mainly the objectives. Why the study is just going to be conducted and what objectives will be considered for any study. That's why what it intends to accomplish, that means it should be clearly mentioned or incorporated in the TOR. How it will be accomplished. This is mainly the methodological part. So that means in the methodology, will we just consider the complete interpretation of the explanation of the methodology, or we will just put any just message to the counseling firm, please, this is the technical area, and we don't have the technical aspects of the knowledge, then you can consider any methodology like the suitable methodology for conducting the studies. That means this area clearly be considered. Who will be involved in the evaluation or any studies? Who will be missed? The team. It will it be thus the internal team engaged study or the consulting firm study, team engaged study, or the joint of the study? So it will be clearly mentioned in the TOR. When milestones will be reached and when the evaluation will be completed. That means when it's mainly about the work plan or the time plan, because it should be clearly mentioned and also the elaborated in the TOR, because just I can give you one example. For example, the study is around 2 months duration, but the inception report should be submitted or the prepared by 7 days after the contract. But what we follow usually, even in preparing and submitting the conception report, the consulting firm sometimes just take the 1 month, like the 30 days. Then actually what should be actually considered for the other part. So these should be clearly mentioned in the TOR, like a one work plan or the table is clearly mentioned. Otherwise, the consultant may be misguided and we may not be able to get the study completed within the set plan. What resources are available to conduct the evaluation? This is also kind of misleading information to some extent. For example, we just conduct in some that yes, the study should be completed within 2 months and 45 days. But in terms of the study team, like it's the environmental impact assessment. So it should be clearly mentioned that what type of technical people or the technical expertise is or will be considered for these studies and what skills, what educational experience, and what the professional experience is required, that should be clearly mentioned in the TOR. So that's why actually these steps or elements, I think, should be mentioned in the or incorporated in the TOR. These are some basic steps for preparing a TOR. This type of slide actually in the next part. So I have just considered this is kind of the technical part, and the later part is the management part. So there are 80 steps. 80 steps. If we just consider for developing a TOR, I think these 80 steps we should consider. It may be varied considering the organizational aspects, considering the organizational standards or different criteria. But what I've just faced or I just considered, this area actually is helpful for developing a TOR, like the sharing background knowledge and providing the rationale for the evaluation. What area actually consider here, like the context of the projects, context of the area, context of the beneficiary and different things, objectives, milestones, target group, and study rationality. So these areas, what I found and what I experiencing, these areas mainly considered sharing this step. That means the first step. The second step is identifying the specific evaluation questions. This is very much important part for developing, especially the study objectives. Sometimes we just follow the set the objectives, but actually we don't set the key questions. So if the specific evaluation or the study questions are not well defined, then the objectives can be misleading, and at the end of the process, we cannot be able to get the right key questions. For what area we consider understanding of the scope. We have to understand the scope, process, expectation to set objectives, what expectation actually we have or we should have, intended users, who will be the users actually, that means the after the study or after the overall TOR development and final the study process, who will be the users for this study findings. Then defining the scope, approach, and methodology. This is also the vital area. Specify scope, setting study approach, and methodology. You will find some areas actually kind of the overlapping in some areas, but this is actually linked with each other. Then the fourth step is governance, accountability of the scope, methodology. So governance and accountability, I would just share some points like what resource will be engaged, what team will be engaged for this study, who will be responsible, who will be accountable for what activities. This should also be clearly considered, and the TOR developing process, actually before TOR developing process, we should have the clear guideline or the clear structure for these areas, like the articulating governance and accountability. So this is also the vital areas. And the fifth is the setting for guiding principles or the values. I mean the ethics or procedures. I will just give you one example. So organization is just encourages us or kind of just binds us that we have to follow the safeguarding policy. But even we have some concept that probably within the organization the staff should follow the safeguarding policy. But no, I think most of the organizations have their clear guideline, clear policy that all the staffs and partners and the engaged parties actually should have agreement with the organizational safeguarding policy, different guidelines, different values, different standards. So this area also clearly mentioned in the TOR. No, not that the full policy will be just incorporated here, but no, just some key point that when the contract is being done, then the consulting firm and even the consultant and even the field data eliminators and the engaged people actually should have clear or the concise orientation on this, and they also have to be agreed on these policies on the ethical sides. Then like the identifying the professional qualification of the individual evaluator team. that I already mentioned that the people we engaged and people we expect, but there is no clear indication what resource will be engaged for this or for that studies. If this is not mentioned, then actually sometimes the consulting firm just show different people, but at the end of the process or even at the study conduction process, the right resource or right people actually are not engaged. Then what we found at the end of the study, then we get the poor quality study reports or poor quality study findings. Defining the deliverables and schedules that I already mentioned, that deliverables and time schedule and the milestone should be clearly mentioned. Otherwise, the system may not be function. For example, what I just mentioned earlier, that the inception report, including the tools and different guidelines, should be submitted or should be prepared by 10 days after the contract or after the process. But what we found sometimes, that means 30 days, 45 days, and even at the end of the steps, and even in practical action, we are now facing these challenges. Already out of the 45 days, already 45 days gone. Today 45 any inception report. But without the inception report, actually why the tools will be prepared and how the tools will be reviewed. So that's the regular managing, very important. Just I'll also give you one example. Our own study, just the funding people planned for one study, but there is no budget. So how? They thought that the study, the organization team will just carry on the study. But what they planned, there was no MEL people, there is no research people, and there is no technical people who will be just accountable or responsible for this study. Then what we just followed or we just applied, then we had to approach to the organizational core fund, and then and also we had to seek some funds from different projects. That was kind of very much challenges. That's why this type of people, I mean the MEL people or the research people, should be engaged with the fundraising process, I mean the proposal development process, and should also guide them what type of study they are also planning to conduct and what type of budget actually essential for doing such studies. So this is also important area. This is the another point. I mean the before slide, earlier side is the technical side. This is also the kind of the writing and also the implementing TOR. This is kind of the management aspects. So once the preparatory phase is over, I mean the earlier slide, then the decision is to proceed with the evaluation. The following steps helps ensure that the TOR can help achieve the intended outcomes of the evaluation. So if the process is not actually clearly mentioned, then we can be misguided. The first step is draft the TOR. First, actually, we have to draft the TOR. At drafting the TOR, what areas we should consider? Agreement with the team and partners, because sometimes the people actually and the organizational thematic lead and even the program lead that develop the TOR, but there is no agreement with the MEL people, there is no agreement with the partner people and even the field staff. Then the TOR is kind of the incomplete. And after the study, actually we don't get the proper study findings or the study coverage. Check the organizational standards. Sometimes actually we develop the TOR, but we don't follow the organizational standard. What organization follow? Like I think most of the international organization and even the 100% of the international organization, there is some set indicators like the core indicators of 10, 12, 15, 20. And the organization, what guides us? Organization guides us that we have to follow, we have to consider at least on indicator if we consider for a study. But if the TOR development process is not in a team approach, then we can be misguided and we can just avoid or we can just mislead considering the organization standard. That the drafting the TOR, these two areas are very essential. Consult with stakeholders. Most of the times, and usually what I would say, usually what I followed, that TOR mainly developed using or engaging the central office team or the project office team. But the project has 2, 3, or 4 partner NGOs or the partners. What actually we get, the TOR developed, the consultant or the team is start. For example, we actually the methodological area and even the study areas has not been contextualized. Then in that situation, we don't get the proper findings on the proper study if we follow with the core of the incomplete TOR. Added to the, and what areas we should consider: ownership of the involved partners. All partners should be engaged and all partners should have the ownership and even the accountability system. Ensure consultative process, community team. This is very essential because every organization just encourages us and also guides us that in defining and in developing the TOR, you should consider the field team, community people. Otherwise, it's not the organizational standards. Opinions and recommendation. Their opinions, their recommendation, and all suggestions actually should be considered. Third one is adhere to the organization's contracting and procurement procedures. So this is also the important areas. This is not the TOR technical areas, but why I would say this is important, because TOR is developed. TOR in the TOR sometimes we put the budgetary figure, but we don't check with the organizational process whether the budget just can incorporate or put in the TOR or not. What the procurement policy says and what the organizational contracting policy says, this should be clearly just keep in mind. Consistent with the internal requirements to contract. So what I said, the organizational procurement policy, organizational hiring policy should be followed. Follow the organizational procurement process. This is what I said. Final evaluation of the TOR with standard and practice. Because what I said earlier, that organization have some standards like the core indicators, like the core guidelines, like the core framework, and even the MEL framework, but we don't follow, and we not actually don't follow. We sometimes just ignore or kind of just missing. That's at the end of the process, actually donors and even the organization and even the head office, I mean the central office, then at the end of the process, they see that there is no matching with the organizational core or core areas or the organizational standard. Then it can give us the misleading systems. Offer consultants the opportunity to discuss and clarify the TOR. This is another important areas. Okay, clarifying expectation for all parties. So TOR is developed, advertisement is done, consultant selection is done, but what we face when the contract with the consultant is done, then the consulting team, I mean that as they are the technical part, they are the relevant experts. What they just suggested, yes, your TOR is fine, but this area should be considered, or these objectives, this not actually relevant with the study or the projects and the organizational context. So they also have some areas to suggest us. They also have some technical expertise that can also work with the clients and even the organization. So clarifying expectation for all parties, and in that moment, actually what we put in the TOR, every TOR, that the final methodology, especially the methodological aspect, we can revise considering the context and considering that both party discussion. Work and contract agreement following the process. This is also the organizational process. Develop the communication protocols. This is also very important. Sometimes, not sometimes, we usually just miss this area in conducting the overall process. Just I can give you one example. For example, in practical action, what I will say, practical action, there is a system that MEL focal actually will lead the study conduction process. I lead mean the technical lead actually lead the study conduction process. But sometimes program people think that yes, the TOR, the study conduction process actually should be led by the program people. And even we just sacrificed 1 or 2 times, but what we just received at the mid of the process or at the end of the process, what is said, the inception is report is not here, tools are incomplete, and even the what actually deliverables they are actually committed, some actually missing. So that's why these type of areas should be considered. But in terms of communication, just after the contract, we should have the common communication protocol. Otherwise, the consultant, like the 5 party or 5 team consulting firms, but all are just communicating with the organizations. If this is done, then actually what message, what email, and what document is authentic, sometimes actually misguide us. And even from the organization, there should have also the common communication protocol or the common communication people. For example, the technical areas, yes, the research or the technical people will communicate. For the field aspect, the project manager will communicate. So these communication areas or the communication protocols, I think, or what do you observe that this should be also followed across the study conduction process. TOR and program clarifying meeting with the consultants. What I said that yes, there are some areas that should be considered, and also that should be revised after the contract. That's why this should be this should have also a scope to clarify some areas. This is kind of the main area or the content. So what we consider that in the TOR, there are a lot of areas like in TOR, there are a clear content. Content means every report, every book, every framework or every plan and every document, we should have a clear content. And in developing TOR, we have also a clear TOR. But what I would say, and even in different literature, what I found, there is no specific guideline or a specific template for developing TOR. Like in the MEL framework and even the MEL plan, we have some core standards or core template or the core point. But in developing TOR, actually there are some core areas definitely, but it mainly depends on the organizational expectation or organizational context. So based on different literatures, based on my working experience, and based on different colleague discussion, I have found some areas that I will also discuss here. Like the assignment title, this is very common for all study or for all TOR, that should be common. Duration and timing, definitely we should have the duration. This is the top line duration. Top line duration mean the how many time actually we'll have for conducting the studies, and how many the working days or the calendar days. This will be considered. Background and rationale. When the study is just planned, then in the first part actually we have to clearly mention the background and rationale. Background, there are in the background part, what we consider that background part is very important, because based on the background part actually we and even the consultants will get the clear concept of what the project says, like the current purpose, objectives, and intended outcomes of the program or the project being evaluated, including the key output, outcomes, and impact indicators, like the result area. So we should have clearly mentioned the result areas and even some of the project background status. Rationale of the evaluation and the key overarching evaluation objectives and questions, including the overview of what decision might likely be influenced by the findings. So this area should be considered. And also the history of the program or the project or any assignments. Why actually what the history says, that should be clearly mentioned here. The context in which the program is situated. What context is, that should be also clearly mentioned in the background section. and the roles and responsibilities of various key stakeholders in designing and implementing the program. We sometimes just consider, or actually we should consider that what the beneficiary says and what the beneficiary we consider, or what the like that there is a 5 types of beneficiary under any project that should be clearly mentioned in the background section, not in a detailed way, but at least a brief section like what is the direct beneficiary figure, what is the indirect beneficiary figure, system beneficiary, knowledge beneficiary, and what the actual organization says or the project says. That should be clearly mentioned here. Any studies or the evaluation that have been conducted on the program or related activities. If any studies like the if it is midterm studies, then we have to have some points like the baseline is conducted, and now actually we are going to conduct the midterm studies, and in between the process we are just kind of just expecting to see the changes of like this. So that points also should be clear. And also an explanation about who has initiated this study. That's kind of the additional points that we can just consider. So this is the background and rationale section. Then the objectives of the evaluation. So we know that this is mainly the study objectives, not the project objectives. So if any study under any projects is planned, then we have to clearly mention 2 areas, like 2 objectives, like the broad objectives or the purpose of the objectives and the specific objectives. So these 2 areas, because the study people, the consultant, and even the consulting firm, what they actually firstly just see, the first point is the
Reason are you hearing me?
Yes.
Your slide is still content of the tour.
Sorry,
your slide still now content of the tour. Is it right?
oh sorry, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just open again.
So far,
Thank you, Alamgir bhai.
people cannot see whole slide, just one sentence there.
Now it's visible, Alamgir bhai? Okay.
Just this slide, can you slide?
Is it fine, Alamgir bhai?
Yes, it's okay now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And sorry for that interruption. So what I said, that 2 areas, mainly the broad objectives, I mean the purpose of the studies, and the specific objectives, because 2 areas are very much essential for conducting a study. If the objective is not well defined, then the study team, like the internal team or the consultant, actually may be misguided or the misleaded. So this should be clearly mentioned or the incorporated in the TOR. And in terms of developing TOR, I just give 2 points. In developing TOR, please avoid a lengthy list of objectives. If it is 4 and maximum 5, especially for the specific objectives, the broad objective is definitely 1, and the specific objectives, if it is 4 and 5 and maximum 6 is fine. But sometimes, yes, but it's fact that in our one study, actually we incorporated 9 study objectives. But why? Because in that TOR, actually we considered 4 studies from different from 2 projects. So for ideal objective settings, I would say the 4 maximum 5 study objectives are fine. But it's actually depends on the organization or the project context. But we should actually avoid the lengthy just list and even the text. Use clear outcome focused language, because what actually we expect through these objectives, we should have clearly mentioned this. Some objectives just give us the vague statements, and even though we can't actually understand what the objective says, this should not be. So we have to have the very specific, very project focused or the outcome focused objectives. Evaluation questions. Evaluation question, we see that the study objectives is here, but in some study TOR, in my experience, I just found that there is no evaluation questions or the study question or the key questions. So if the evaluation questions is not mentioned in the TOR, then actually the study team may not be able to understand the objectives properly. For example, then the objective is that to see the knowledge level about the waste management system. For example, as I'm working for the practical action, practical action usually work for the waste management sector. So I'll give you the relevant experience. Just to review the knowledge about waste management. What does it mean actually? If the key question is mentioned here, like the waste management, actually there are two parts, like the fecal sludge management, solid waste management, or the kitchen waste management, and even the plastic waste management. Actually, this is our concept or our area. So if the key question is clearly mentioned in considering three areas, then the firm actually, or the consultant especially, or the study team will get the concept that what type of areas will be considered in meeting the objectives. So that's why the evaluation questions or the study questions is very essential. Otherwise, actually, we will not be able to understand the objectives. So evaluation questions is also the vital areas for developing a TOR. Scope of the evaluation. Scope of the evaluation, because in developing the scope of the evaluation, we sometimes can't understand the areas, and we sometimes just ignore some vital areas, or ignore the putting the best effort in developing the scope of the evaluation or the study. So that's actually what we just get the incomplete or the poor document. Like the in scope of evaluation, what important areas we consider, like the time period and the project components covered by the evaluation. So if it is the 2 months study, if it is the 36 months projects, actually this should be clearly mentioned in the scope of the evaluation. For example, the evaluation might focus on the effects for participants during a particular segment of the program's history, or be limited to a specific geographic areas. This should be clearly mentioned in the scope of work or the scope of the evaluation. Other existing or planned evaluations of the same subject in the interest or harmonization, this should also be clearly mentioned. And the target group, there are the clear areas for each project, like the target people or the target beneficiary. This should be clearly, or a kind of the brief point actually. What, for example, we have 5 types of beneficiaries, but through these studies we'll mainly evaluate the 3 types of beneficiaries out of the 5. But if it is not clearly mentioned that TOR, then the actually study team can consider that yes, most probably or definitely we have to consider all 5 types of beneficiaries. This area should be clearly mentioned. Otherwise, actually we'll get the incomplete or the redundant information. So that's why the scope of evaluation is also important. Otherwise, the issues that are outside of the scope, for example, we have in the project study, actually there are 5 project objectives, and we'll consider the 5 objectives through this study. But the organization management think that we're just going to have a call for developing a proposal, and if and the proposal or the call area just will give us some area like the climate change area, but this is the waste management area. So if we are thinking that as we are just going to develop a proposal, consider the climate change area or the nexus building between the climate change and waste management, then the management think that yes, this climate change area, if it is just considered in these studies as additional, then we'll have the data, and using the data, and we'll have the complete proposal or based on the need assessment or based on the field context. So then management sometimes just consider some additional objectives or additional points. That's why this area actually clearly mentioned in the scope of evaluation or the scope of our section. Approach and methodology. This is very much common area for a study. So I would just give 2 points regarding the scope, regarding the approach and methodology. First one is the in some TOR or in some study proposal, what we follow that if it is just clearly understandable projects regarding the beneficiary, regarding the project areas, regarding the context, regarding the partnership, then what we do, we sometimes just develop the study methodology as if the consultant just can't understand the project context, then the methodology can be misleaded. Then in that situation, we said and we develop the methodology and put in the TOR. This is one approach. Second approach is that this is the kind of the technical studies, or this is the new studies, the new concepts to us. Then what we do? Then in that situation, what we do or what we should do, we just set some guiding principles, like we have to apply the mixed methods. We have to have mixed methods like the qualitative, quantitative, and even other areas. And in the qualitative areas, we have to consider these areas. Quantitative, we have to consider these areas. This is kind of the incomplete message or the incomplete message. But what we are doing, or what we are just giving the message to the consulting firm or the consultants, yes, these are the technical studies. And as we are just going to hire the technical consultants, so you the right people to develop the right methodology or the right approach. That's why we just kept them blank and just kept them blank with some expectation that we are just expecting for a better methodology from your end. So these are 2 areas. So if it is the technical, then actually we can just leave them for the consultants. If it is the well-defined areas or well-conceptualized areas, then we can just develop the methodology and put them in the TOR, so that it can be consistent with the pre means if it is the baseline, then actually if it is the midterm studies, then it can be just consistent with the baseline studies, then the earlier study what we just conducted before, and even the future just inline study. So these are 2 areas. So considering these 2 areas, and we have to develop the TOR, which one actually will just apply. Governance and accountability. What I already just explained earlier section, that governance and methodology is very much important. That's what sorts of people or the team will be engaged here, and what will be their accountability. Just I'll give one example. For example, this is the technical studies, like that. This is the public health areas, but we are not the health professional, or this is the complete complete technical, like the nutritional focused study, but we don't have the medical experts team or the technical people, but we are just considering that some non-technical people for developing the TOR. But what actually we'll never get the quality TOR if we engage only the non-technical people. The study is the nutritional focused, but we don't have the technical people or the nutritional focused people, nutritional expertise people. In that situation, actually, we should have the team considering the relevant expertise. Otherwise, we'll have the incomplete TOR or the message. And even what should be our responsibility, and and who actually will be the accountable person. Sometimes we just kind of just interested to show their responsibility, but we don't want to be the accountable. That's the very vital area. If any situation, if any challenges is encountered, then nobody is here. Then yes, I just engaged, but actually I'm not accountable for this. So you the MEL people just develop the TR and you will take the responsibility or the accountability for everything. That's why the responsibility and the accountability section should be clear in the in actually before developing the TR, and even sometimes in the TR some notion can also be incorporated. Guiding principles and values. Guiding principles and values. This is also the important areas. A TOR actually specify the study ethics or the procedures that the evaluators should follow. Yes, definitely very much important. This might include the fundamental principles of the organizational commissioning, the task, and what we follow that, the transparency, cost effectiveness, collaboration with beneficiaries, hiring of local consultants, involvement of local agencies, or practice expected of the evaluation. So what people actually will be engaged, the earlier section said, and what process and what standards we have to follow. Definitely it should be clearly mentioned in the TOR, because we have the policy, we have the ethical consideration, we have different standards. But if there is no indication in the TOR, then at the end of the process, just I'll just give you one example. For example, we have just contacted with a consulting firm and including different consultants. They just visited the field and just conducted the orientation session, and also deployed their data collectors at the field. But when they conduct the survey and with the just adult lady and even different beneficiary, then sometimes if any just bad situation is just occurred, then who will be responsible? So this type of agreement, this type of consensus, or the written document or the written agreement should be here. So guiding principles and the values like the safeguarding policy like this should have clearly mentioned. In our organization, actually, there are 4 principles or 4 guiding standards or the policies are agreed by both parties. Otherwise, actually, we're not able to contact with any consulting firm or the consultants. Team qualification, already I have explained in the earlier section. The team actually what expertise, if it is the agriculture focused projects, then definitely we should have clearly mentioned that there are 1 or 2 agricultural people. Even the agriculture, there are the 3 areas like the crop, fisheries, and veterinary. If it is the fisheries project, but actually we just mentioned that agriculture expert, this is not a valid mention. We should have clearly that yes, we have to, or the consultant or the consulting firm should have the team including a fisheries background people. Otherwise, the study will not be conducted with quality. So this type of areas actually clearly mentioned. If it is the environment focus, definitely the people, the consulting firm or the consulting team should have a at least 1 expert considering the background related to the environmental aspects. So this is also the vital areas. Output and deliverables, and also the work plan. This is the common area actually, what outputs we are actually expecting from the study team, and what will be the deliverable like the inception report and the tools. This is the output. This is the output, the output or the deliverable, outputs and deliverables. But and even when should it be developed, like the within 7 days, within 10 days or 15 days, it should be clearly mentioned in the work plan. So this like the draft report within the, if it is the 60 days study duration, then it should be actually developed by maximum 40 days. So if it is not clearly mentioned, then actually we might get the draft report at the end of the study duration, like the in the 15 days time. Then actually we need sometimes the 7 days or 10 days to review the study process or the study report process. So that should be clearly mentioned in the TOR. So this is also the vital content. style and length of the report and research product. I'm not actually giving the mandatory points in this regard. Sometimes we just kept kept relaxed for the study teams, and we sometimes also mention the indication of some contents of the study reports, and even in some study reports of the TOR, the clear content is mentioned in the TOR. So this is actually based on the requirements of the expectation or the practice of the organization. This is not the vital area. If you think to apply, then you can apply. If you think to actually comply with the consultant's expectation or consultant's process, this is also fine. Evaluation of the research management. This is the kind of the vital areas, because the research management or the evaluation management, who should be engaged and who should actually manage the process. I mean, the earlier section, I just said that the communication protocols, who will just review the process, who will be the team to actually review review and also support the study teams. So that should be clearly mentioned in the TOR, or this is also the vital area. Terms of payment for the consultant, and also the firm, because what I experienced, I will just give one example. This is the 10,000 10K GBP study, but there is no. Then when the contract period is come, then there is actually a lot of confusion, a lot of contradiction between the organization and consulting. So this should be clear. Actually, what will be the payment schedule, like in the 3 installment, through the 2 installment or the single installment. This should be clearly mentioned, and even what should be the VAT and tax charging method or the charging process. So this is kind of the message actually the people or the study team will see, and based on that, actually, because the 25, if we consider the Bangladesh system, the 25% the VAT and tax, if it is 25%, it's a huge amount, because the consultant actually conduct or show their approach, especially focusing the financial areas. So if it is the VAT and tax relax, this is fine. If it is just charging from the overall amount, this is also the considering area. So this is the areas to be considered in the TOR as part of the TOR contract. Structure of the proposal and the submission guideline. I mean, when at the end of the TOR, this is, I would say, this is the mandatory part. When the proposal means the technical proposal and the financial proposal, and also considering some organizational background, like the core or the legal documents, registration, some financial report, I mean the audit report, some relevant studies. Actually, different organizations just expect for different documents. So, and even when the technical or the financial proposal will be submitted to whom, so this should be also clearly mentioned in the content. So these, the 15 content I have considering different literatures, considering different TOR, and even based on my experience. But I wouldn't say this is mandatory for all. This is the common, but you can actually give it just customized considering your organizational context. These are the some areas, mainly the DAC criteria. We know about the DAC criteria. So relevance, coherence, effectiveness, efficiency, impact, and sustainability. And in these 6 criteria, we usually follow for developing or for conducting any studies. So DAC criteria means we all know the Development Assistance Committee, the DAC means. So relevance, what is relevance, and why actually these 6 areas we consider? This is not applicable for the baseline studies. This is not applicable for the workshop or the event or any different activities purpose. This is mainly, or what I know or we practice for 2 studies, like the midterm and even and finally the inline studies. So these 6 areas, and what midterm considers, what inline considers, that I'll just show in the later part. What relevance says, is the intervention doing the right things? Coherence, how well does the intervention fit the area? Effectiveness, is the intervention achieving its objectives? Efficiency, how well are resources being used? Or value for money analysis. Impact, what difference does the intervention make? Sustainability, will the benefits last? I mean, if the project is 2 years, the project is ended, but at the 6 months or even 1 year and even the 3 years after the project phase out, we can just see that the project reflection of the project's contribution is still existing in the projects. So that is also the kind of the vital areas. These are the 2 vital areas. Midterm, actually, what midterm consider? Midterm, I mean, if it is the 5 years projects or the 3 years projects, so there is some option for midterm. This is actually depends on the project standards or the project criteria and even the organization standards. If it is the 3 years for midterm, definitely it should be start from 3 years onward, because midterm for 2 years project, midterm is not the justified. So midterm evaluation, what midterm in the midterm is what I consider relevance, coherence, effectiveness, and maybe efficiency. Actually, the impact and sustainability is not actually considered the midterm. Sometimes, to some extent, the impact and sustainability can be happen. Impact can be actually sustainability is not applicable for this year, but though some literature also say that sustainability can also be considered. So relevance, coherence, effectiveness. These are the 3 criteria we consider for the midterm. And the inline, we consider the impact, sustainability, and efficiency. So these are the kind of areas actually we consider as the under the DRAC criteria. And mainly when actually or why actually we consider that, you can see the number, you can see the number 5 evaluation questions. Actually, these, if it is the midterm evaluation, then the relevance, coherence, and effectiveness, these key questions are actually considered under this evaluation questions content. So these are the mainly content of the evaluation. Now I'm going to share, I think by next 15 minutes, actually, I'll complete my presentation. So these are the metrics for setting key questions and objectives. This is just based on my practical experience. You can see this metrics or this actually framework for other organization or other TOR, but it's actually my experience. And in different organizations, they have different systems to develop the key questions and develop the objectives. So what if follow that? Outcome indicators, output indicators, and the outcome. So these are the mainly 2 areas we pick from the project. And last 3 or the rest 3 columns, the key questions on single indicators and set study objects, and finally set study methods. So when you just go for developing the key questions, definitely it should be focused on the project indicators. Project and indicators mean the output indicators, because when it consider the outcome indicators, mainly based on the output indicators, we develop the key questions. And here I'm just giving the two sample indicator, output indicator under each outcome indicator. So 90% increased awareness of targeted municipal stakeholders for safe handling of waste and sludge handling of waste and sludge. This is the kind of the technical areas. I'm just giving you the conceptualization of this indicator, just giving you the concept. This is a structure, outcome indicators, output indicators, and then finally set the study key question. So if we just follow this framework, it would be helpful to consider all the indicators and set the key questions following all the output indicators. If it is done, then what we experienced in doing different or preparing different TOR, that every indicators we just put in a column and consider the key question so that not a single indicator cannot be lost. That's the message. And set objectives. If we actually consider the objectives considering the key questions, other the objectives can be misguided, and even the some key questions can be just lost. And then the study methods. This is actually before developing or giving the shape, giving the full shape to the TOR, we follow this process so that we can consider or we can just incorporate it or address all the indicators in the studies. And if it is followed, then we can, at the end of the process, we have the confidence that in developing what study objectives we have considered for the TOR, that focuses all on the relevant indicators for these studies. I will just give you one example. In just conducting a study for the Save the Children, what I found that we have completed the studies, everything is fine. We are just going to submit the final report, and even submitted the final report. Then the Save the Children just requested us, yes, please just give you the relevant questions or put the relevant questions considering the study objectives. Then we had just developed the 10 pages questionnaire or the quantitative survey questionnaire. Then at the end of the what I found, we actually didn't able to find the relevant question for each or even some of the objectives. That's why we have just identified that we have to consider all the indicators, and even we have to develop the key questions following all the output indicators. This is the implication of TOR. I mean the what should actually we follow. So key implication for this for the TOR, they guide us. They provide the clarity to the project team on what is expected of them and what deliverables are required. Firstly, secondly, they ensure that all stakeholders are aware of their roles and responsibilities within the project. Thirdly, the TOR helps to establish ground rules for communications and decision making amongst the team, which can avoid the potential conflict later on. So these are three actually guiding principles of the implication. What should actually we follow? This is the some additional points. How can TOR be used effectively? Actually, in order to use TOR effectively, it is important to understand what they are and how they can be used. What is scopes and purpose in the TOR? It can also be used to establish expectations and responsibilities for all parties involved. So these areas mainly, if we consider, then it can be used effectively. Or for this actually, these areas can be considered. When creating TOR, it is important to be clear and concise, because if the clear concept is not in our mind, then actually we are not be able to develop the clear or the concise or the confident TOR. All stakeholders agrees to the TOR before moving forward. Usually we don't do this because in my experience, actually, what I said earlier, there's mainly the project team or the head of team develop the TOR, but sometimes we actually ignore or just ignore the field people, I mean the Ben community people and even the partner organization, but that should be actually considered. If we just consider, then it would be actually be effective for us. If you are not sure what to start when creating your own TOR, yes, there is a lot of templates, lot of guidelines in the different website, different page, but actually we should have a concept or clear concise, otherwise we will not be able to develop the TOR. Once you have a good understanding of the what TOR actually will be developed, then otherwise actually will not be able to develop the quality TOR. Yes, the last point is own customized version that will fit the needs of a specific project or initiative. What I said earlier there, yes, there is a lot of guidelines, lot of tools, lot of TOR, lot of different studies, but we have to have the customized. We have to have the concept that yes, this is our concept, and these concepts actually will consider for developing TORs. Otherwise, TOR will not be used effectively. My last point is challenges to develop the TOR and how to overcome. What challenges we follow? This is totally based on my practical experience. What challenges I follow, that can be also applicable and also consistent with your part, but this is totally based on my experience. Limited time for literature review. We develop the TOR just in 2 days or 1 day. That's totally actually imperfect. Lack of unavailability of technical expert. This is the environmental impact assessment of the literature assessment, but not actually consider the technical for developing the TOR. Then the TOR can be misleaded. Don't make any metrics for setting study objectives. That metrics I just showed in the earlier section. Definitely, we should have a clear metrics or the work plan or the workflow. Otherwise, we'll not be able to consider all the relevant indicators for developing the key questions and even the study objectives. Incomplete key questions, objectives, and scope of work. What I said that. And 1 minute, please. Lack of methodological clarity. This is also the vital areas. The TOR is complete, but there is no clarity. There is no clear message on the methodological aspect. Don't get timely feedback on the TOR. This is the TOR development. Yes, the MEL team or the respected team is developed TOR, but if it is the technical people is in the organization, we just sometimes share for their review, but actually they don't get their feedback. They don't provide their feedback in a timely manner. Insufficient budget and resources. The project scope of work is very ambitious, but there is no budget. So this is actually kind of the misleading information. Rush to prepare fast. The time is very limited, but the scope of work or even the objective is very high. Then actually we sometimes lose the quality. Absence of technical approach, absence of team approach. The TOR is just developing in a scattered way. There is no team approach, there is no the right people engaged. Then actually we'll have the poor quality TOR. So that's kind of the relevant or the my own experiencing areas, that challenges I face, and what actually the suggestion or the overcoming way I will just share with you. That's can be different considering your organization, but this is my experience. Smart planning should have. Without the smart planning, we cannot be able to develop the quality TOR. Second one is the resource allocation. Right resource, the right people should be engaged. And finally, the team approach. Resource, and in terms of resource, the budget is also engaged. Team and the budget. And finally, the team approach. If it is not the team approach, or then we might actually or might not be able to get the quality TOR. My main presentation is done. This is the additional part for the inception report preparation and also the technical proposal preparation stage. This is just 1 minute in 1 minute. Just I'll give you the snapshot. If we just develop the TOR, the consultant is selected or the team is engaged, then for planning to conduct the studies, this area actually are helpful for moving forward. Like the study objectives, this is developed, or this is the we get from the TOR. The core analytical issues that we consider for the studies, methods, what methods we'll actually consider for the studies, and the expected data types, like what data actually we need, like the knowledge gaps, cultural and behavioral patterns. This is just example. And finally, the analytical framework or the analytical approach. That is the descriptive statistics or the cross tabulation or a multivariate analysis or any analysis, like the stakeholder analysis, SWOT analysis. So this is kind of the example. Actually, if I get an opportunity, then based on this part and in the study conduction process, then I can give you the another presentation, so that what process and what standards and what rules actually we have to follow in doing the study, and in order to get the quality, in order to get the complete report, study report with quality. These are some resources I have actually gone through, and there are also some other lots of resources we can Alamgir bhai, can you hear me? Hello. Hello, Alamgir bhai. Alamgir, can you hear me?
Rejan bhai.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, thank you very much. We are grateful to you. Your presentation was fantastic. Dr. Rejan has clear about TOR, what will be the technical part, what will be the management part, and other things. So I applaud you also. As you know, I still hospitalized ever here due to dengue fever. So I will not continue today. Just 10 minutes, we will continue. Moreover, Dr. Rezawan will travel from Sylhet after 10. So we will take some question from participant. Now, feedback session for participant.
I think there is some
Yes,
message.
yeah, just is some question you answer with chat box.
Will I go through, Alamgir bhai? From
Yes, sure. Still, my weak, very much weak now. Just go through.
Alamgir bhai, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I go through from the message actually in the chat box?
Yes. Go through, please.
The first point is the who are actually TOR most important too. Actually, TOR is applicable for all assignments, I would say. All assignment, not for the day-to-day activities. If I consider in the oh, sorry, Alamgir bhai. I just missed. So
Okay.
what I said, can I go through with the my message in the chat box?
Just go through.
Sure.
By 10 minutes. Actually, my weak.
Yes,
body will-
Alamgir, just considering your context, and also I have also time limitation because I have to leave by next 15 minutes.
Yes, please. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So who are TOR most important too? So what actually I like to say at this, TOR is applicable for all vital or all important activities. Not only for the studies, I would say, for example, you are just going to conduct a 2 days long workshop. I would suggest develop a TOR. What the workshop says, what the workshop objectives, what the workshop participant coverage, what the workshop other areas. If you develop the TOR, I think you would be able to place the management with the concrete message, and they will be able to approve your budgets and even the plan with confidence that you have the complete guideline. TOR is a kind of guideline to carry on any assignments, any studies, or any process. Then,
Hello.
yes, please.
When is the TOR necessary to development? It is a mandatory one every project during planning.
I think not, but if it is what we do, if it is the planning midterm planning process, or the after 1 year, we usually conduct the progressive workshop. Then if it is the workshop, if it is the event, then I would suggest please develop a TOR. This doesn't mean that you have to consider all the 15 or 16 content, but considering the context or considering the workshop modality, the workshop objectives, please develop a TOR so that management will be guided properly. What actually you are going to do and what result will have and how will be actually effective and why actually you are going to use the workshop findings or workshop outcomes or the workshop recommends. Then I would suggest develop TOR. TOR actually doesn't mean that this is only for study. What I said earlier, that TOR is applicable for all areas, but for daily activities, this is not essential.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but next point is how deliverables can be well articulated from the scope of TOR, because there will have so many scope, but in the okay. But in terms of payment, according to the work plan, we usually consider 5 to 6 deliverables should be submitted. In this regard, I would suggest please specify your deliverables clearly. If it is 10, 15 to 20, it's not a problem. If it is if the deliverables is not clearly mentioned in the TOR, for example, I'll give share on experience. In the audit conduction process, if the organization thinking to conduct an annual audit, and this audit actually will be conducted by the external audit firm, in those TOR actually there is clear indication of each deliverable and even what payment will be made based on each deliverables is clearly mentioned in the TOR. Sometimes the budgetary figure is not mentioned, but the deliverable size should be clearly mentioned. Otherwise, the firm or the consulting or the respective people will not be able to understand what's your actually scope of work, what's your actually will be the expectation. So that should be clearly mentioned. And in terms of the scope of work, what I said, the scope of work also should have the clear message actually what your understanding says, what's the timeline, what's the beneficiary, what should be the coverage, like the how many years or how many partners will be assessed. So this should be clearly mentioned. I think answer is okay. If any.
Thank you. Nice presentation and nice answership. TOR needed for regular monitoring activities, please?
No, but not for the process monitoring. TOR is not essential. But if it is plan monitoring, like the just I can give you one example. In the last one, actually, our MEL team actually conducted joint monitoring, and in conducting the joint monitoring, the respective MEL people develop the TOR. And in the joint monitoring at the 4 report, what the parties are, what the people who are engaged, the municipality people, the community people, the field office staff, MEL staff, and even some the private sector institutional people, all are engaged. So in that situation, actually, we develop the TOR. Based on the TOR, why the TOR is developed? Because what's our objectives are clearly mentioned and what outcome will be produced through this joint monitoring visits. So that is in that section, actually, I would suggest please develop a TOR. But there is also some flexibility. For example, I wouldn't suggest that for every joint monitoring visit, you need to develop a TOR. If it is the regular activity, like in the 6-month period, you will just conduct a joint monitoring visits, then you just develop a single TOR and just set some clause that yes, we will conduct this joint monitoring please in a quarterly manner or the 6-month manner and the annual manner. So in that situation, actually, if on single TOR is developed, I think it would be actually wise. This is my actually experience and what I experienced, and nobody actually will give the scope to say about the MEL teams negativity or MEL teams wrong scope of doing. So that's why I would suggest please develop a TR. And the next questions, I'm just going through fastly, because when do we develop the TR? I would suggest at least 2 months before, please initiate for developing TR. At least 2 months, not 2 days. If it's not clearly start in the right time, then you will not be able to develop the complete TR. And this TR should be developed engaging all the relevant stakeholders, and should be reviewed by the respective parties, respective staffs. Otherwise, you will not be able to develop, especially for the study TR. I would say study means the baseline, inline, and even the midterm evaluation. This is actually our practice. Just what I'm just giving the example. This is based on my practice. But if you are the super expert and if you have the complete guidelines, then yes, you can develop the TR 15 days, 20 days. But I would suggest please actually take initiatives to develop it at least 2 months before. Is TR must for all projects? Yes, not for all projects. Actually, all assignments. Assignments can be the studies, can be the workshop, can be any event. But if the study is planned for all projects, definitely it should be for all projects. TR actually not for the projects. TR is actually based mainly for the assignments.
Reason
When develop. Yes.
Just 4 minutes. We will be finished at 9:30. So we can opportunity 2 or 3 older people here. There are many senior person here, so they can share something.
Sure. Okay.
One or
Okay.
2%.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2%. Yes.
Sure.
Anyone.
Thank you, Alan Bhai.
Yes. Anyone can share.
Yes, I'd also request the expert guide actually, please suggest some points so that we can also improve more, because this is not the final message or the guidance what I have just presented. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone can share on TOR, please. If not sharing issue, we will be finished, because my body is very weak.
Okay, thank you, Alamgir Bhai. I think you have contributed a lot for the MEL guys, especially not contributed. You are being contributed. So
thank you. Also, we are grateful to you for your time, because
thank you very much.
We have learned more from your presentation so far, I know. So have a nice travel tonight. Bye. Good night.
Thank you, Alamgir Bhai. Thank you all. And if you have any clarity and any expectation, please reach out to me. I'm always available to support you. Thank you very much.
Yes, everybody. Yes, everybody can share our WhatsApp group. Reason by will take care of that.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll be happy to support, and I'll also share 2 sample TOR. Consider the 2 types of methodologies. Alamgir Bhai, please you can also share those with the presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Thank you. I joined late. Sorry for late.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you. Bye.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Rajan, by such a nice presentation.
Assalamu alaikum.
খুবই চমৎকার হয়েছে রাজন ভাই।
Goodbye and assalamu alaikum.
খুবই চমৎকার ছিল।